Test, test, test. What's up? What's up, Marky?
Hey, what's up, Jason?
Just trying to figure this out.
Yeah, I bet so.
It's not my normal software that I use for the podcast.
Okay.
So.
Too many
Good.
people on the same
Yeah,
on the Zoom. Yeah.
Yeah, I can only do like 3 on the software that I use.
Are we like 10 or 12? I saw.
Yeah, it looks like Bruce is not going to make it and Stan's not going to make it. That's something come up. So, and Derek will pop in late because he's got practice.
They're on the West Coast.
Yep. And everybody else, let's see. Okay, I got to admit everybody? Is that what I'm doing here? I think so. Here we go. Hey, what's up, Claude? I can't hear you, buddy.
Okay.
There you go. Yep, I can hear you.
Okay.
Nancy.
Yes, sir. Click in the window where the 3 little dots are.
Dougie.
Hi. I'm trying to change the name.
All right. Make sure Jen is close by, Doug.
She is. She's right
I'm
here.
right here. Rename.
Rename.
The AV squad is here. We're going to make it work.
There you go.
Good to see you all.
Good to
You
see
too.
you.
Hey, everybody.
What's up, Drew?
What's
Hey,
going on?
Drew. Hey, Joe. Salut, hey, Nancy. I was talking to Claude and Nancy at the same time.
All right. Salut.
Salut, ça va?
Yeah.
Oui, ça va.
The kids have been instructed not to bother you.
Good luck.
Good luck.
I'm in.
What's up,
All
buddy?
right.
Not much. How y'all doing?
Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you perfectly.
All right. I got the microphone, so.
There's a rule that you need a glass of wine, right?
I was going to say, hopefully I'm not the only one drinking because, you know,
Yeah,
that's
I
probably.
heard that there's a rule. I knew Nancy's going to be there.
There
Good.
you go.
Looking down her
Claude,
Chardonnay because I was.
It's maybe too early for Claude.
Hey, you know, Mark, when
I got a bottle of wine in the fridge, but
Yeah.
yeah, two. So
when you push that glass close to the camera, Mark, it looks like you have like a 4-gallon bottle glass of wine.
It is pretty big, actually. Yes.
I love it. I should have got
Yes.
me some wine. I
Yeah.
didn't. I'm
Thank
trying
you.
to lose weight. I got the seltzer going.
COVID has not been helping, right?
I'm good now. I'm getting down
Uh,
close to my fighting weight, but I still got a little bit to go.
Yeah.
I think Jay said he was going to be a little late as well. So,
that
Leighann, where are you at, Leighann? I thought she's in.
I'm just here, just ghosting, listening to y'all talk.
We can see your beautiful picture. We want to see your video.
That's because I'm driving down the road.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's probably safer.
Yeah, exactly.
Drew looks good.
Hey, what's up, Mark?
How's everything?
Just got off the lesson tee. I'm looking at these eyeglass rings right here. Oh,
You wear sunglasses all day, huh? I wear a hat unless you cannot tell. My forehead is pretty wet.
Yeah.
And I'm losing my hair too. Both of them.
Beautiful.
we call that getting older.
I know. We all are, huh, Claude?
That's
what time is it in Hawaii right now, Club?
it's 1 p.m.
Oh,
So half of the day.
oh, okay. I was thinking it was 1 a.m. All right. That's
Yeah, no,
better.
no, we are like 6 hours behind you guys.
Yeah. Okay. That makes me feel better. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm getting them up like at 1 in the morning, like have to take
Yeah.
a nap. And
Yeah.
Hey, Molly.
Hey, guys.
And it's
Hey,
probably
Molly.
four
Oh.
for Molly. Is it 4 or
What?
Yes.
4 o'clock for her probably, right?
6 p.m.
Oh, 6, just one. Oh, okay.
just 1
Yeah,
hour.
just one.
Yeah. Awesome. So who are we waiting on?
I
It's
saw
not
your
snowing yet,
Golf
Mark.
Digest, Molly, a little video. That was cool.
Thanks.
Yeah. It just popped. I just saw it. I don't know how it came through my feed, but that was pretty cool. I think I was just looking at the cover of Golf Digest through some feed. I said, wait a minute, that looks like Molly. So that was cool.
Well, I'm just gonna watch it right now. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, it's about strategy a little bit, and it must have been a pretty steep, like fairway left to right and all that stuff. It was good.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, they were pretty particular on what they wanted me to cover. So I was,
Oh, that was like they
Yeah,
kind of
like
give you the
1 minute.
subject.
yeah, 1 minute course management stuff. It was interesting
Yeah.
to talk. So
That was cool.
All right. A couple more minutes. Who are we waiting on? We're waiting on Julie and Jay.
So if we get going, Jason, with all of us, that's gonna last like 3 hours, right?
It could. It could. That's okay.
Is there like a timeline for your podcast to be, or
No, no,
No,
my
okay.
podcasts are always really long, but I've
Got
never
you.
had more than a couple of people on it. So
Yeah.
that's why I kind of wanted to give everybody like just a couple of topics, and
Yeah.
then we can go whatever direction we want. But
Okay,
I think
so
this will be fun.
I got somebody on the tee at 2 for me. So if it's not done, I will kind of politely excuse myself.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
I'll get you in there early.
We should do a team critique of Claude's lesson. Just like
Turn the camera around and
Like the-
Like
I
an
can-
interview.
let me just do.
Like the old days.
I can turn. Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
How we learn.
There's
Yeah.
Julie.
Let's see.
Okay, there we go.
yeah, look at that, Claude. That's cool.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, that is. So
Uh-oh.
this is what I'm at.
Hey.
Look at
Oh,
that.
that's
Good
cool.
Lord.
Little mountain view.
Yeah,
uh,
that's kind of an ocean, and that's kind of where I spend my days.
That
Hey, Julie.
sucks.
Oh, that's. You're
Hey, Jason.
good
Yeah.
to see
Tough,
you.
Claude.
You
Yeah,
too.
tough
Wow.
you.
Mm.
Yeah,
Love
right.
you. Yeah, pretty
Hi,
tough.
Marc.
Hi, Julie.
Hey,
But I
Claude.
like it.
Yeah,
Hey,
he's
Julie, how are you?
Claude is showing us his view, Julie.
Yep. So it's pretty
Not
good.
bad.
That's
Look at the
great,
concrete
Claude.
now. It's joking.
Yeah.
Now I got a
Oh.
almost 360 on the ocean and the mountain. So it's
Nice.
good.
That's really nice.
All
It's
right.
so good to see you guys.
I know. Isn't this
Same.
cool?
Very cool.
Right?
Yes.
So I'm glad everybody could get together and do this. I appreciate you guys taking the time. This is really special for, I know all of us, but it's really special for me to do something, right? I mean, I wanted to, and I like me and Nancy were talking the other day, and we were just talking about just the whole legacy, right? I mean, just everything that we've all been through. And she's like, I'm like, well, look, Dana's bringing us together just like she used to, right?
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and get started. And I know Jay's going to join us, and then I think Derek might join us a little bit later. But again, thank you for all taking the time. And I know this could be emotional. I know it's been kind of emotional for a lot of us the last few weeks, and but I want it to be more of a celebration for my mentor, my good friend Dana. And
Rumbauer.
yeah, there you go.
Rumbauer's
Yeah.
her favorite wine.
There you go. Perfect. Yeah, that couldn't be more appropriate. So I know she's looking down on us and probably smiling at,
Laughing.
everybody. She's probably laughing. He's like, what the hell are you guys doing? But I sent you guys some questions. I thought we sort of keep it reasonably organized, but I wanted to start with Julie and let her kind of, because since she's been with Dana the longest and all the way back, and I'm sure you've got some great stories, but the 3 questions that we talked about were just describe what she meant to you, obviously, and how she's affected your career, and then a couple of stories if you have them, and then a couple of things that maybe you took from her teaching or life that you still do today. So Julie, thanks for kind of kicking us off here, but I appreciate everything.
Well, this is certainly a great celebration. So
Yeah.
it's hard to do this.
Yeah.
But I've known Dana for 35 years, and we taught together 12 feet apart for 25 years. So we had a really good time all those years, just growing and laughing, and certainly very dedicated to teaching. And when I first, I remember the first time all of you showed up at the Dana Rader Golf School door, and I wasn't any different. In 1991, I didn't know what an open club face was. And Dana and I would sit there and going, I don't know. I'm looking, she's 10 feet from me. Went, she goes, open club face, open club face. I'm going, I got it. And then probably the funniest thing is she had to ask me every single time I took a golf lesson if the person paid and if they were coming back. And she beat me up, I bet, for months before I finally decided that, hey, okay, I'm good enough that I can charge. And then I also need to ask them to come back. So she already had a good book of business. And I had to learn how to do that book of business because I just, I didn't know. Yeah. And so that was one of the biggest things I think that she taught me initially was, how to ground my business. And when I think about all of, from that time on, starting with Jay, and then Scott Fossum, and everybody, we had to help everybody build that book of business. So it started with the two of us at Raintree Country Club, and it never stopped. And you have these conversations all the time, and you all are such great teachers, and I'm sure that you have imparted so much wisdom to people, and you don't even realize the basics that you've learned from people. Yeah. And Dana was a great communicator. She spent an enormous amount of time on public speaking. Yes. And Jason, as you know too, we yeah. I think the most nervous everybody was when they came as new instructors was to get up and have to do a presentation in front of all of us.
That's right. Yeah, for sure. And mine was an epic fail. Remember, I was doing a club presentation and literally clubs flying everywhere and stepping on my tongue. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I was so nervous. But yeah, you're right. That's definitely something that we all kind of learned from the best.
Well, we all had to start somewhere. Yep. And what a treat it was to work with all of you for so long. And what was great is everybody learned from each other. We didn't have a model. We did not have a model for business. We just did it. And Dana and I spent a lot of money with Joan Wright of Sullivan building our business plan. And that's how our business plan, I think Marc said he didn't understand that our mission was to honor God. And that was 48 hours, 4 days inside for 8 hours a day, knocking out a business plan with a business coach. Mm-hmm. And that's what our foundation became. And that was our foundation of operation.
And Julie, if I can interrupt you, 20 years later, it makes the most sense, you know. You don't know at the moment. I don't know if you saw Ashley posted something. It's funny that you bring that up. I don't know if I did that back then. I don't remember, but she posted something about Dana, and that was the thing that impacted Ashley the most, is that it was in the mission statement. So
yeah, absolutely.
No,
I forgot I said that, but she remembered. Actually, and then you did, yeah.
So it's just fun to think back about. So Jay, bless his heart, he was the first one that had to endure.
Yeah.
Dana and I mixing it up together all the time, but we were on the same boat, going in same dreams and same goals. And she was an incredible educator. And when I watched her teach, initially, she's very auditory. She didn't use training aids. She didn't even know what they were. She didn't use video in 1991. But what she could do was communicate to verbally without touching anybody. She would stand 7 feet away from people and could teach them. And I'm going, how did you do that? And she just used her words beautifully to train people without a lot of tools.
Mhm.
And I always thought that was quite impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. What's your any favorite stories or any funny stories that you could share with us that probably we don't
You got
know?
too many to share, I'm sure.
You gotta have so many.
Oh boy. Well, well, as far as teaching, we kind of, are we just us?
Yes,
Oh, good. 'Cause we used
Just
to make fun
us.
of her.
but
We-
it's going to go out to the world. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me just say, I think one of the funniest things was just having that cat in the golf school, Radar.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. Yes.
Having him in there and scaring all the kids and
We get aggressive.
she made darn sure that anybody that came on board had to get the cat back in the building at night.
Yeah.
And she put the fear of God in those little 16 and 17-year-old guys outside. And even they would call me and I would have to run back to the golf school at dark in a leather jacket and dressed up and find the dang cat and get him back into school. And I know you all got that cat back in there.
Oh yeah.
8:30, 9 o'clock at night. Sure. Chasing that thing down.
That was the quickest way to get fired. Was to lose
Sometimes
the
with a
cat.
little mouse in his paws and stuff like that, right?
Oh my
Snakes,
Hey,
catching
my
snakes.
first day, I stepped on that cat. My first day. I stepped on
believe
the
you-
cat and Dana was in her office. They go, wow.
Oh my
Can't believe you
gosh.
kept your job.
I kept my job.
Wow.
So, I mean, that was pretty funny, actually, to have that cat in there. And some people were scared to death of it. And some people loved it, but poor Radar.
That's
And those
fantastic.
poor kids that had the fear of God put in them from Dana that they better get that cat back inside.
All right. So Jay, talk a little bit about, you're the second in tenure. Tell us your experience and then share some stories with us.
Yeah, just blessed that I had that opportunity to start at Raintree. Long hours, long days, trying to learn. I mean, the standing beside Dana using video, and then going over and helping Julie with the beginner programs and those kind of things, and then being able to format my little niche with juniors before we moved to Valentine. It's just it's fun watching it grow from 3 to 13 or something like that. So that was the cool thing.
Yeah. Any good stories back in the early days that came to mind?
My favorite was going back through trying to find things and things that would pop up was as we were growing, I would do the phone interviews and accept the resumes and then bring the people in. And there was one young man that came in one year. Nobody in this group, obviously, because y'all were still here. But he came in for the interview and he said, can I explain my golf swing theory to you? And we're like, yeah. And he took a club and he said, I start with the grip and then I work on the posture and then I do the ball position. Then I go into the takeaway. And after he had explained it all, Dana looked at him and said, that was excellent. It's almost like you read my book.
Yeah.
He in
I think I
a
remember
surprised
that.
voice, in an absolute surprised voice, said, "You wrote a book?" And she looked at him and said, "Yes, I did." I'm gonna go into my office to take a phone call. Y'all go ahead and finish the interview up. And I counted to myself the number of steps that it took her to get back to her office in my head. And about that time, the phone rang in the studio room. And I walked over and got it, knowing full well that the interview was over and that I should just tell him to go home. But,
Yeah.
he struggled through the rest of it. And then I sent him a letter telling him, no, thank you.
Yeah. You could always
Because
tell
she had written-
how well she liked it by how long she stayed.
Yeah.
How long she stayed.
Any training.
Oh,
But
that's good.
that was very very enjoyable to me to know that interview was over, because he had hit all the points. I mean, but hitting all the points didn't get you the prize. So she was adamant about knowing that the teachers could teach, and that more importantly, that they were willing to learn.
Mhm.
And I think that was the biggest thing, to be an employee at the Dana Rader Golf School. You had to have that openness to learn, that willingness to fail in front of your peers, and fall on the sword, and understand that you don't lay there dying, that everybody picks you up at that point and makes you better. So
That's right.
in long term, you can go through and just look at the people that are on this podcast and see the success that they've had. And it's not because they're individuals, it's because each one of them was open to learn, coming from that top of the willingness to learn. So
Yeah,
that's my blessing.
very, very well said. Yeah, I was just, fortunate this year that I got to do 2 speaking workshops with Dana, and it was just unbelievable just how everything comes full circle. And then to have her on the podcast, a year and a half ago, and I've listened to that podcast like 3 times in the last week just to hear her voice. Just incredible. So Claude, I want you go next. I know you gotta run off here in a little bit. From Paradise there, and thanks for joining us from Hawaii.
It's a pleasure. I will not have missed that for sure. So Dana, she embodies professionalism for me. And she was very respectful and believe in the human potential. So she helped us to have that as a value base to grow from. And she will genuinely give constructive feedback to make sure that we're learning and we're getting better at our craft, either technically or more. I think importantly is the communication and the people skills that we learned there. I learned a lot from the business point of view as well, even if I came with a business background, had an MBA, but she was open to listen to different ways to do it. She had an open mind, so she helped us to feel comfortable coming with idea that maybe they were not aware of. What amazed me is how she was able to keep the group of, when I was there, I think we were 7 coaches and teacher, how well-oiled machine that was to produce so much. I remember having 3-day golf school with 36 women. Let's say that was a women-only golf school. Wow, whoa, that was efficiency. So I learned a lot on that I still use that today. It was fun. It was hard work. We were respected in our individuality of what we do, as long as we were contributing for the team. I remember we wanted to reach, I forget the number, but I was close to $1 million, I think. And then we had that thermometer in the room, and then every day we were getting that red thing to the top. So that was a fun way to keep us motivated. So she was also always available. I was there from 2002 to beginning of 2004, but every time I've been at the PGA show like 11 years in a row, I will always see her there, even if she's extremely busy. And I knew I can always call her if I need advice. So she helped me a lot in my career, that's for sure. She was so grateful to write a good, nice endorsement of my book. When I published my book in 2017, she said, "Oh yes, that's my pleasure to do that for you." Then it was a great experience. We just moved to North Carolina. I sent my resume, and the funny story for me is this one. So I'm in an interview, and then I remember Julie and Dana were a little bit concerned with my French accent. They said, "Oh, maybe people won't really understand him." And I remember I look at both of them, and maybe Jay was there. I don't recall, but it says, seriously, you guys talking about accent? I'm not sure I will understand the people from North Carolina.
Right.
That was my funny thing in the interview to say, you know, I think that'd be okay with my accent there. So
Yeah, I think you've done okay.
yeah, I think I did. Yeah.
Congrats on
So-
all your success. It's fantastic.
Yeah. So that's
Well done, Claude.
Really,
You know,
really good.
One thing Claude was a master at was he wrote back in the day, thank you notes like crazy. Claude, you were a master at communicating with your clients because you knew how important it was to build that your business, and you did it the best of anybody. You were so devoted and so good at client base and keeping in touch with them.
But thank you,
I think-
Julie. Yeah, I think this is one of the key to be successful in this business is follow up and thank you people. It's even to this day, I think people who take their precious vacation time, let's say in Hawaii, and want to spend it with me, or I think it's a privilege, and we need to thank them. So that was part of what I built the business on.
Yeah, very
Claude,
good.
Claude, hey, Jason,
Yeah, go ahead.
Claude is the only instructor that I know of that I can remember that could take somebody from a 3-day school and then book them for a private lesson after the 3-day school is over and charge them again.
Yeah, that's right.
I think he's the only one that ever did it.
Yeah.
But he did it. I mean, he was always looking for another minute, another hour, another lesson, and you know.
Yeah.
But I think working at Valentine, working at Dana Rader Golf School, being taught more about numbers and awareness of hours and how billable hours matter, you know, that helped me a lot. It still helps me. I still do a budget every year, even though I am my own business. I still project out how many half hours I want each week, or how many hours I want each week, even though I'm my own business. You know, I still try to have those accountable numbers and goals to this day. So
good.
Thank you, Mr. Conlon.
Right,
Yeah.
Mr. Conlon. Yeah,
Oh my
60%.
God.
That might be more of a Mr. Conlon, but
Woo!
regardless.
Well, Dana learned it well, though. I mean, she made a lot of effort to learn those numbers from Mr. Bissell and Conlon, and she knew those numbers well and understood that business model and worked it hard.
I apologize for getting that 2,400 in my second year to like ruin the whole thing, because then after that everybody's like, well, we can get 3,000, I think.
Yeah, and we've done it.
I should have chilled a little bit longer and taken a little bit longer to get that, but yeah, we kind of knew exactly where we stood.
I think Drew's got the record, right, Drew? Over 3.
It is.
I think I did
Nice.
like 29.78 or something, and Drew
Oh
did
my
like
gosh,
3,000 something.
That's
What I remember.
insane.
Am I correct? Yeah.
I think you're correct. Yes, sir. I'll be
Yeah.
very humble about that.
That's awesome.
Why Drew has gray hair.
I was gonna say all that gray hair.
That's
Yeah,
3,000
all the
unit, Julie.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. All
So
right,
big-
Nancy, you go next. I know you've got some good stories and some things we talked about on the phone the other night. So
I could repeat almost what everybody had said. I'm gonna go a little different direction on kind of what she meant to me and stuff, and tell it more in one of the stories. So it was the LPGA NEP, the National Education Program. She used to teach level 3, the business side of it. And so I was going to my level 3. I'd been there just a little less than a year. I came to Dana's as a class B, a little less than a year. And as everybody knows, that she can engage an audience and she can work a crowd, and she's a great public speaker. And I knew when I got there, I had come from Golf Digest. I spent some time at Golf Digest schools. I spent some time at Faldo. You know, you knew something was special about this place. And this is just kind of affirming as the story goes. So she's on this business model and she can get off on tangents, as everybody knows. And then one couple bunch of things that stick out in my mind during her speech to this. She was talking about the business model and stuff. And somebody in the audience was an owner of a golf course. And she talked about having 4 superintendents within an 18-month period. And Dana goes completely silent. And she goes, well, I think that's a management style problem and not a superintendent problem. Right? Everybody's just like, she just say that?
Drop my mic, drop, mic and drop.
Correct, mic drop. And then she went on to
Yes.
explain kind of maybe how this person can get the right person in that position and what maybe she needs to do to change her management style, blah, blah, blah. But so we start to get off on tangents. And Dana started talking about teaching groups and the art, and it came up as I still remember this, the art of putting people's hands on the club. And everybody's kind of like on the edge of the seat because now Dana's kind of talking about teaching and everything. And some shy person raises her hand and she goes, I have got to go to the bathroom so bad, but I don't want to miss anything. So Dana's been talking over an hour and a half. So they're like, okay, we're going to take a little break. So it's 30 women. So there's a line in the, and people were coming up to me. I'm just standing in line being like, wow, she must be so on today and stuff. And I just said to him, this is her every single day. We get this every single day. And so everybody gets back in. She finishes up her talk and she calls me over before I leave. And she goes, hey, you got 10 minutes after you get back to your room. I want you to drop your stuff off. I don't want you to change. In 10 minutes, you got to meet me down at the bar. I was like, okay. So we get down there, we're the only 2 down there. She gets a glass of Chardonnay, I get a beer. And she says, this is what's going to happen. In about 15, 20 minutes, people are going to start coming in and they're going to want to know how to put hands on the club. And I'm thinking to myself, no, they're not. This is level 3. I didn't say that to her or anything. She goes, let's move these chairs. So she moves these 2 chairs and she puts 2 little end tables next to the chair. Because she's like, and people are going to buy us drinks. Sure enough, 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later, people are coming in and she's like getting 2 lines. And I'm like, Dana, I can't put hands on clubs just like as good as you. And she goes, I've been watching you. I've been helping you for a year. You can do it just as good as I did. And we spent an hour just, people would come back around the line and just show them how to put hands on the clubs. I mean, it was amazing to me.
That's so cool.
That whole thing.
Yeah.
So then one little other part, I kind of like this little Danaism. So Dana's like, hey, I got to go to dinner. And she goes with the instructors and everything. She goes, Nancy, come with me. And I'm like, no, man, that's the instructors and everything. She goes, no, you're coming with me. You're sitting to the right side of me. And you're going to see how I work the room with the instructors. And it was just an amazing experience. And I just, you know, when you get there, it's something special, but have it affirmed in a class like that, it was just an amazing experience that night.
So good. Yeah, it's a great story. Dougie, what do you got? Talk to me. You were there for a while and have seen it all. So
my first year there, as you all know, when I got my interview, I managed to fake my no hip pretty good.
Yes.
I limped a little bit, but
Yes.
So as the year went on, obviously doing the schools and everything, and I got worse. In fact, some of you saw me actually fall down for lack of the legs being the same length.
Yeah.
So
we tell you drank too much.
Huh?
We tell you drank too much. No?
Well, it was.
We tell you had something in your coffee. Your green mug. We tell you had something in your coffee.
Or you got hit by a golf ball.
Yeah. So
how much you chase the pain away? That was to change the
Yup.
paint away.
And
Let
it's
me-
also swing lube. Don't forget, helps you hit it better.
Yeah, let me interrupt because Dougie leads the nation in getting hit by golf balls. If
Oh,
nobody
yeah.
knows.
59, almost
59.
to 60. Haven't gotten there. I got whacked about last year, about this time. 59.
Oh my
Awesome.
goodness.
Where's
The
Bradley? He
countdown
thought
is going.
57. He thought it was hilarious. He watched the ball hit me and then
Oh
jumped
my
up and down.
gosh. All
So
right.
anyway,
Yeah.
so as the year went on, we did an interview in probably the beginning of October. And I was just trying to get my bearings. And, once again, it was, working for Hebron, with his brain. And we know how, his brain is one of those teaching minds. And then I work for Dana, but Mike is an eccentric. He might as well have been Mo Norman, it just woo. So anyway, which I love him to death and still do. But, he whatever. So then I go work for Dana. I'm limping around and, I had whatever I had from, my boss and my old boss. And come October, we give an interview and however it went, it was nobody here. So they didn't get the job. Anyway, so everybody's starting to leave and everybody starts walking out and Dana goes, "Hey, Doug, stay here." So everybody leaves. They're out the door and she looks at me and she goes, "When are you going to get that hip taken care of?" And I looked at her and I said, "Oh, I'll do it in a couple weeks." And I was about to leave and she grabs me by the arm, picks up the phone, sticks it to my ear and said, "Here's the number. You're calling now."
Oh, wow.
And that's when I knew she really cares. She really gives a crap.
Yeah.
So it was one of those moments where it was like, it was almost like a parent, but it was a boss. It was, and I can't take Julie out of the equation because, it was the same thing. I mean, Julie, just not to go off there, Julie cooked us Thanksgiving dinner our second year there and Jen was in the hospital. That's the environment that was created there. And it just that, I've got a gazillion of them, right? I mean, but she cared. It was a boss that cared. She not only cared about how good of a teacher you were, how much money you brought in, she cared about you as the person. And you just weren't a number on her screen, a social security number on the payroll report.
Yeah.
And so, that's, I got, a bunch of stories, but that one always comes to my mind. Also I can bring up, I think you and Jay, my first year, remember that woman yelled at me on the tee? I don't know if you remember. And then y'all took me to lunch because I was about to quit. Yeah, you remember that?
I do now. Yeah.
I'm
Now I
sitting there,
do.
my head in my hands, and Dana's like, "Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it happens.
Don't worry about it." And the ironic thing is that 2 weeks later, that same lady booked a lesson with me and booked another one.
Oh my gosh. That's
So,
crazy.
As far as a business point of view, like, Jay said, and I can, with Jay, we were on our own. But I still budget. I still do the model. I still look at it that way. I still break it down, not by the half, but by the hour. I hold myself accountable. I've got nobody else to hold me accountable anymore, except for Jen. She holds me accountable. But
Yes, she does.
I mean, from a business standpoint, I mean, all those things, that she learned. And then, what filtered down into you, Jason, and Nancy and Mark and, and Molly and everybody else. And we always look at it's always, Dana and Mike always taught me everything is a learning opportunity.
Mhm.
And you all took what you learned and, and I hope I do the same thing with instructors who, I still mentor some people around, you take that and you feed it down and it started with, Dana, and then like Julie didn't know how to, an open club face. And then she learns that. And, I learned that and, you learn that. We all learn. And, at this, for this, I mean, Dana was the top of the pyramid. So, we all learn from that. And,
Doug,
taking,
Doug, just to clarify, some of the instructors never learned.
they're not
We
here.
will not stay at
They're
Dana
not
very
here.
long.
That's why they're not on the Zoom.
Yeah. I was
Yeah,
gonna say, I
exactly.
didn't invite them.
Podcast, but
Exactly.
I have the list of those people.
Like I said, they're not here. There are a few that have that just couldn't make it, but most of them aren't here.
Yeah.
So, I got a bunch of funny stories. I mean, I told the one, at the memorial of Julie, you know, when we got in the CPI party, we crashed. I could tell that one. A lot of you have heard that before, but I'm going to use one from one of her later years. I think it was her last year. Northwood, you know, had taken over, and she was now, you know, we were all going to get, you know, and she always liked to observe us, and she had kind of gotten out of that, but Northwood was in, so she was going to, you know, bang right down the line. So the one lesson she decides to watch me on, okay, and I will, I'll mention a name, and his name is Drew. And if you can remember, Jason, you know, anyway, so she comes up and, you know, Drew reverse pivot, inside shut club face hockey player, hits a slap shot. And Jason, you and I were the only people who could actually get him to hit it.
Yeah, I do remember that guy.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm giving it, she walks up behind. Now she's looking at this mess over the ball, right?
Yeah.
And we know that that's the only way you can hit it. So she comes up and looks, and I go, Dana, you might want to watch a different lesson. No, I got this. So he takes it in. First thing he does, what does he do? He rips it behind his body, about 4 feet with a closed face, comes over, reverse pivots it, drops it somewhat, and hits the ball. Okay. So I'm working with him on what wizardry I know how to do it. And so she comes up and goes, we got to keep that club out in front of his hands. I said, Dana, if we do that, he's gonna shank it. And
yeah,
Jason's did that with me and somebody else before you. So of course she comes up, goes, no, and comes up and goes, let me show you something. And goes up and he goes to her and he goes, I'm gonna shank it. No. So he gets up there and she takes it through rehearsal. Same thing we've done with him 1,000 times until we realize it's going to shank it.
Yeah.
And he takes it in, he takes it back. She works with him. He shanks 1, he shanks 2, he shanks 3 now. She looks at me and goes, good luck, and left.
That's awesome.
Good luck. Bang, she's out the door.
Oh my
I thought that was
gosh.
phenomenal.
That's
I get
really
back
good.
in. Did you get him to hit it? I'm like, yep. She goes, wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, unusual pattern there for sure.
Yeah. Well, by the way, Jason, he finally wanted to get better, so we've got that all taken care of now.
Good. All right, let's hear from Leighann. Let's hear from the youngin. Was there as apprenticeship back in the day.
Oh my gosh, where's Leighann?
You still on there?
There, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so I'm home now. I
Awesome.
started the call driving home, and here I am. Wow. God, I'll never forget my interview. I think it was Julie asked me, or Dana, I forget which one, you know, the classic interview questions. And they say, what's your weakness? And my answer was chocolate cake.
Oh, that's great.
Oh.
I mean, but like, you know, I can't, she did really set the foundation. I mean, you know, her book is, you know, all about, and she was really the foundation for, you know, how I see golf as a business and how I interact with people. I'll never forget that PGA show, that the teaching and coaching summit, that all of us were kind of sitting around in a circle, like up at the front of the stage, like the nerds we are. I think Michael Reid was asking, all right, so who's been to Toastmasters? And literally this little clump of humans all raise our hands.
Yeah.
And the questions that, you know, he was asking about, you know, all the things that professional development that we, and, you know, how important that was, especially that early in my career. You know, I left teaching full time to go coach for 12 years. But that was such an amazing experience to be able to get some of the coolest people on the planet. And, you know, that's something that Dana and Julie, you guys did. Like you collected a group of people. Safe to admit that I had no idea what I was doing. And I'll never forget giving my first talk where I had to teach putting, and I got done and I just bawled my face off. And then you guys came to me in the kitchen. We're like, it's okay. You're crying because you care. But yeah, I mean, just presenting to each other. And it was like, we were this awesome team of humans who, you know, just totally supported each other. And it was, there's nothing that I have ever been that's been a part of since
Yeah, it's great.
cool.
Yeah, good stuff. And you're doing great work, by the way. I know I see you at all the top 100 summits and workshops, and it's just so cool to see your growth and how well you're doing. So bravo to you. You're running with the right people. Get she back on? I lose her. All right, Molly, can you hear me?
Yeah, I've got you.
Yeah.
Molly.
Molly, yeah. Talk to us about your time at the golf school and what you've learned from Dana.
Sure. So it's funny how everyone's bringing up their interview.
I know, right? Yeah.
That's one of my most vivid memories of being at the golf school, actually. So you talked about asked about how Dana influenced our career, and she actually kind of created a career for me. I graduated a year early from Pfeiffer, and that's where Dana went. And I had played golf 18 holes with her, surprisingly. It's only 18 holes with her I've ever played. And I think my junior year, and we were with my coach, Chris Ambrose, and Brittany. And so we finished the round and said goodbye, and thought, she's a pretty neat woman to listen to and hear her stories. And so I graduated and went home, and I had a summer job I had committed to, and I had zero idea what I wanted to do next. I thought I had another year of school ahead of me and that I was going to become a veterinarian. So fast forward to, I think it was the end of September, I saw a 704 number come up on my phone, and you guys can hear her voice when she says it too, but she was Molly, Dana Rader.
Yeah.
And I thought, holy crap. So I was like, hi. And she said, I need you to move to Charlotte. You're going to be my teaching assistant. I'm going to run for national president of the LPGA. I want you to run my social media campaign stuff. I thought, well, I can probably do the social media campaign stuff. This was before there was actually, a degree for that. And I thought, teaching assistant, I don't know what that is, but sounds good. Like, let's go. So moved to Charlotte and actually walked into the golf school that first day of work in my mind. And you all were waiting for me in Dana's office for the interview.
I remember that day.
You thought you had the job.
Yeah, so I was told I had a job in Charlotte, and luckily enough, you all accepted me. And so I think Dana was out teaching and said, you guys start this and I'll be in. And I remember sitting down, and Julie's behind her desk, and you guys are all in there, and you guys started asking me questions about the golf swing. And I'd only been playing golf for about 4 years, and I thought, uh-oh. I thought, when are they going to ask me about Facebook? So, finally we get to lunch, and I think Marc was like, well, who's coming for her lesson? And I thought, my lesson? Who's going to give me a lesson? And I think I was supposed to be giving the lesson, but luckily Dana put her foot down against you guys and was like, no. She doesn't know how to teach a lesson.
That's funny.
So luckily, she let me come back in, and you guys let me come back in. And I think she said to me, I'll never forget, I said, Dana, what am I supposed to be doing? She goes, Molly, see that back pocket on my pants? And I said, yeah. She goes, I want you in that all the time.
Oh, that's great.
And so for those 2 years of my, being her teaching assistant, I was kind of in her back pocket. And what came with that, though, was you guys. And I just feel so lucky. I listened to the podcast as well, Jason.
Yeah.
And when you were talking about how she would swing you, you did that for me. And Nancy's story about putting hands on. I said, Nancy, no one's going to do that with their hands. She said, oh, yes, they are. Yeah,
That's right.
Start out, like juniors. And she said, Molly, you got to get those hands on there. And, Julie taught me how to budget and do a junior program, and Marc. And you all just spent so many hours with me beyond what Dana already did. So I just feel so blessed that I didn't, I got Dana for those 2 years and had her, you know, down on the tee, slamming her foot down, going, that's it. I can hear it. And sometimes I still see it and hear it down to my left side. And, but you know, you guys all came with that, and that was the coolest thing. So, yeah, I would not have been a golf instructor if it wasn't for you all and Dana.
Can I show you a picture?
Uh-oh.
I don't know if you guys can see this,
Watch out.
but I want you to see this picture.
Oh, wow.
This is 2013.
Great.
Can you
Oh my
see
God.
everybody?
Thank goodness the
Uh-huh.
podcast. See that.
Can you see it?
You never know. I might put this on YouTube. So
Huh?
We'll see.
Look at that.
That's crazy.
Isn't it?
Wow.
2013.
I love our
Oh.
matching outfits.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
what's the shock? I'm out of
There's-
uniform.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, yeah,
right.
that
Yeah,
was
way to
fun
go,
trying
Doug.
to get the same shirts on every day.
I know. Show up with the wrong shirts.
Do you know that there were days when we had, I would always count at the end of the day how many people we went through that school. And, you know, one of the goals was to never let a student feel like they weren't personally helped.
Mhm.
But there was day after day after day that we had 110 people go through that academy in one day
Wow.
in groups. With schools, all the different programs we had running after class, the juniors, and some of the corporate outings that we did. Oh my gosh, we just rocked it.
Yep. We did. We
Rock
put a
solid.
a lot of Rock
Yeah,
solid.
that's good.
That's right. All right, Drew, what about you, buddy? Talk to us a little bit about your relationship and what you learned from Dana.
Well, I'm sure everybody felt this way a little bit. I came in there guns a-blazing. I thought I was a genius and knew everything there was to know. And she
I
proved that
remember your interview.
Yes, me too.
I remember everybody's interview.
Yeah.
and it was by far in the world the best thing that ever happened to me. And you know, I came from, I think, Golf Machine, and I came from David Orr and
Yep.
the Mac O'Grady stuff, trying to be this machinist, and I didn't have a human element to me, and it was a godsend to find her. I was very lucky to find you guys, and but I mean, my biggest memory was probably the phone call. I got a job with, I think, Golf Tech at the time. I was working for 3 months there. It was going pretty well, and I'm sitting there, and my wife, we just moved. We've been there for, I don't know, 2 months, and I think I called her, I think every month. Hey, anybody fill that job? Is anybody gonna take the job? And I kept calling and calling. Finally, she called, and my wife was in there washing the dishes or something was going on, and I said, "Honey, you want to move to Charlotte?" She smiled this big smile. Dana was the one that had called, and it was a big shock. It was awesome. We moved everything over there, and I remember when it first started, she threw us into the fire pretty quickly after I got through the interview, and she had a 4-person school, and it was just her, and she said, "You're going to do it with me." All right, this is great. Let's get down and dirty. Let's go see what's going on. And she did the grip. She put the hands on all this stuff, and then she left. And there were 4 people sitting there, and she left and said, "Go ahead, Drew." And man, that was a nerve-wracking experience, because I've never been, I don't know about y'all, I've never loved or been more petrified of a human being in my life. So
Oh yeah.
what is she gonna do to me if she comes back and these people are ruined, and I'm getting their grips right, I'm getting their postures right, I'm trying to get the ball right, I'm trying to do, all right, what we did. I've known her for a month now. I've got her book. Okay, gotta get it just right. And she came back and she redid everything. I did everything wrong. It was great, and she fixed them all up. And at the end of the day, it was perfect. And she gave me all sorts of constructive feedback. And I learned from her, sitting down, eye to eye, face to face, as a human being, she really cared about everybody. It didn't matter who you were, if you were a student, if you were a coach. She spent time with everyone as if you were the most important person there. And I know you guys all had those types of experiences too.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of some other stories, but I mean, every single time we had those meetings, where do you see yourself in 5 years? It was always the same answers. Oh yeah, top 100, yada yada. It's like, well, how are you going to get there?
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm just going to teach better. I'm going to learn more, and I'm going to keep doing that. And she made me think more, plan ahead, and be smarter every step of the way. And it meant a lot to me. You too, Julie. You sat me down plenty of times, and Marc and Jason and Nancy, Molly, and all the juniors that we did. It was a really, really special place. And now that I'm out in the world on my own, it's a lot different. We did it differently. And I think we thought about what's the best way that we can help the people in front of us. And we could all talk to each other like, hey, what do you think I should have done with this person? And at the end of the day, I think we all know just because we care so much, we're going to find an answer. If we don't have the answer, we're going to go find somebody that does.
Yeah.
And I thought that was her heart, her soul. I've never seen anything like it. And I'm certainly going to miss her.
Iron sharpens iron.
I was just about to say that.
That's what you always
Same
said.
page, exactly.
That was the Dana Rader ism that always.
And there's room at the top.
That's right.
She says, dress for success.
Yeah.
Remember, she was saying that. All right, guys. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be on that
Claude.
podcast.
Take care, Claude.
Think of you all, the one that were there when I was there. And so thank you very much for this opportunity. And I'm always there if you need something.
Thanks so much, Claude.
Hey,
Appreciate you
Claude.
joining us.
Goodbye,
Thank you very
Claude.
much. Okay.
Remember when we saved a life?
Oh my
Oh, yeah,
gosh, I do.
Oh my God, I
Scariest
forgot
thing
to
ever.
mention that. Oh my
Yes.
God, these two ladies just
On
wait.
the tee box.
These
Yes.
two ladies showed up. They were regular. One was
Yep.
a doctor, the other one was a nurse. And then they asked, where should we start? I said, they were regular. So what would you like? Well, this is we go in the bunker, but we'd like to see a full swing first. Then I said, good, let's just spend a little bit of time. And then she passed out on the tee. We started to do CPR and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Thank God
Whoa.
she came back. Oh my God, I was
She didn't come back. She was dead.
no, I gave her CPR and then
I know. I did the
Same.
breathing, nasty breathing, but she
Oh
was
my
dead.
God.
She
Oh
came
yeah, she
back.
was dead on the tee. I
Yes.
remember
Oh.
that.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
The ambulance didn't know how to get, the fire truck
Yeah.
came. We had to pick them up in the State Bridge in a golf cart. It was
Yeah.
scary. I
It
remember
was.
that.
Wow.
Yeah. So, all right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much,
Thanks,
everybody.
buddy.
Bye-bye.
Take care, Claude.
Hey, Claude.
All right, Marc. What do you say, buddy? I know you've got some good stories.
I got 2 pages of notes here.
I was
So.
gonna say.
So I'm the only one without the interview of this group. So
Exactly.
I'm the lucky one who did not go through the interview. Maybe some of you remember, I got the lucky job of starting at the cart barn and breaking the cart barn. You remember that, Julie?
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
Marc.
I got charger of the
Yeah,
cart
you
barn.
pulled the
fall.
charger down, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right. And my punishment from Jim Combs back in the day, right, was we're going to send you to the golf school. That's your punishment. And it's been my biggest blessing, right? And the punishment because it was actually work, right? You didn't just drive the picker and get tips from cleaning golf clubs. You actually to do divots and do some work. And so that was my interview. Failing at the golf course got me the job at the academy. And obviously Claude is you got the second French Canadian in a row, right? Julie and Claude got me we had a connection in Canada. So it was, you think about it, what are the odds, right? There's a guy from Montreal at the golf academy and I contacted him through one of my friends and I got fired from the golf course and end up at the golf academy. And 13 years later, just did a lot of teaching over there. So it was really the best punishment I ever got. So that was it, so that, and of course, your question is what she meant to me. Of course, it meant everything back. So she got my first job. We gotta struggle.
It's okay.
uh, the green card, everything, right? So it'd be better if I talk about funny story than what she meant to be. Sorry.
It's okay.
So hopefully everybody remember those couple of stories. All right. Dana had a magic fairy dust.
Yeah.
Raise your hand if you remember that, right,
Oh, yeah.
Nancy? You remember
Yeah.
that?
Foo-foo
We all
dust.
call it the fairy dust,
Yeah.
which was the most annoying thing in the world for us, but it was her. It was her instinct. It was her presence. It was her knowledge, her believability, and she would fix somebody that we try for hours, and we do the same thing, and she come with her little magic dust, and then here you go, you got this, and then like really, and it was pretty cool, right? And we called it the fairy dust, right? You guys remember that? It was fun, and it was just it was like the whole package, right? It's not always, of course, you gotta identify open club face, right, Julie? You gotta identify, you gotta fix grip and so on. But more than that, you gotta get the person and get them to believe to what you're gonna teach them. And Dana was the expert at that. So that fairy dust is in the back of my mind all the time. I said, one day, I hope I'm gonna have that fairy dust, just fix people and just sprinkle a little bit of it. So I remember that forever. I remember her general pattern rule. General pattern. If you're supposed to be there at 10 o'clock and you show up at 10, you're late.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, that's pretty important. She said that so many times. And it's for your lesson. We're busy, right? We were doing 8, 9, 10, 11, maybe get a little lunch break and want to. So you better be starting your lesson on time, end your lesson on time, show up on time. No, show up before on time, set up, and it was the whole package. And I think so that general pattern rule, you show up on time, you're late. I see you shaking your head, Doug. You remember that, right? She would say that all the time.
On time is 15 minutes early, just so you know.
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those were the, you know, the fairy dust and the general pattern rule were pretty big for me. And I, you know, some of the fun stories, at one point we would get so drilled and accustomed to the 3-day school and helping Dana and so on. And I was certainly start as her assistant and so on, but being an instructor. And then I just took a note while everybody was talking. I was like, we need a bracelet of like WWDD. So what would Dana do? Right? We would all, do you know what I'm saying? We would all analyze the swing, and we knew most of the time, 80% of the time, what would Dana say? Because we were trained to see golf swing the way she did. And then it was very successful too anyway, right? The way she analyzed golf swing from the front view, from down the line. And then there was a really good recipe. And there's a recipe to improve almost everybody. And I do remember my first few weeks on the job, kind of like Molly, I was in her back pocket, and she said, just fix grip. Just learn how to put people's hand. And I didn't touch anybody golf swing, and that would help almost everybody. And I still believe in that so strongly, even though we can debate about all kind of tour player with different swing and different grip. It's hard not to improve somebody when you put their hands on the club a little bit better, you know? So you improve their grip in general. And I would see so much improvement in golf swing that this is still at the core of my teaching. So what do I take from her in my teaching? Yeah, just improve people's hands on the club, and then everything just unlock from that. So you know, and we would, and then every now and then in a 3-day school, we're like, what happened to Dana? She just changed something completely different. Like, what happened? Did she read another book or something? Like, Dana is not on, and it was super rare, but we knew she was so solid and so consistent, and we would just improve everybody. It was just so fun, and it was kind of reading her mind a little bit. And it was a little bit of challenge, right? And I try to do it myself with my own student right now. I try to challenge myself to read a little bit what they're going to do, and I was trying to come up with what she was going to say before she say it. It was just fun. It was challenging. And most of the time I was right. And every now and then she threw a little curveball, you know, and then every now and then she sprinkled her fairy dust. So it was a little bit of all of it, you know. And I don't know, I got a bunch of other story, but do I have time for one more?
Yeah, absolutely. We got plenty
Like
of time.
one of the biggest thing that I keep hearing also in the back of our head is in general on the business side, the teaching side, just in general, the lifestyle is becoming aware. So if I would say awareness will be a big life lesson that I learned from Dana. I'm sure everybody in this podcast heard Dana say, if the building is on fire, who's gonna notice? You heard that, right? Right?
Yeah.
So is
Drew, did you
anybody
hear
gonna
that?
notice? Sorry? Was that Doug?
I said, Drew, did you hear that?
No, I've
Yeah,
never heard of
well,
it.
so
I've never-
awareness.
No.
We all, I mean, there's this is what anybody say, Denerism. The building's on fire is Denerism, I think.
Yes.
And that means be aware, right? Be aware of if the trash can is full. Be aware if you're running out of balls. Be aware of your student passing out or becoming pale, right? Be aware of the building, your student, yourself, your own body language, your student. So awareness is huge. And I hope that when I teach or just in life, I'm like, I got a camera on me and I'm trying to be aware of what I display, what I do, and of everything around myself. So you got to know, you got to have eyes beyond your ears, right? What Dana would say, beyond your head. So you know somebody's swinging. How many times we're teaching a junior lesson or a golf and Dana's coming and say, this kid's gonna hit somebody else. Like, be aware, look around yourself, right? So it's about safety, it's about lesson, it's just about life and being aware and try to be aware of what my kids are doing, right? And just everything. So awareness is probably a huge life lesson. So
That's awesome. Yeah, self-awareness is
self-awareness.
massive. Yep, absolutely. That's really good.
So,
Hey,
So-
just, I can just add to that fairy dust stuff and everything. How like giving Dana was and everything. I don't know how many times, countless number of times that I'd be struggling with a lesson. And I'd go into the building looking for her to come and help. And she was either on the phone or she had the little earpiece in. She's talking on her cell phone. She's got a bag over her shoulder. She sees me coming and I hear whoever she's talking to. Call you back in 20 minutes. She goes into her office. She puts her bag down. She doesn't even ask me anything, but she just comes out and helps. And she would like move the guy, kind of not really say anything. And I'd be like shaking my head, don't have it yet, have it yet. And she'd do it again. And I'd be like, I got it. And she goes, okay, you go move him. And I'd move him, you got it. And then she'd just go on her way. But I mean, she was on her way out the door and she wouldn't even hesitate.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So I got one little thing. It's in my first, I think it was my third 3-day school. So, or maybe my fourth, because the first 2 or 3 I had Miss Cole follow me around with a clipboard. I love that. That was one of my favorites. So anyway, I walked in after the third one and I said, look, I can't do this.
She wanted you to be a better instructor.
Oh, I know. I'm like, Dana, I can't do this. It's nerve wracking. I've got all this anxiety. She's whatever. She's okay. I'll come out. So the next 3-day school, I guess she told Julie to hit the bricks for this one. And she's out observing on the green, no clipboard, just walking around like she does, And I help the guy and he's putting better, right? I get his shoulders all aligned. So anyway, at the end of the day, as you was into the office, she did, you did very well, your short game, you're putting, you're improving on that. You really diagnosed that guy, his shoulders were open and you got him over the ball and putting better. But she goes, I got a question for you. I said, what's that, Dana? And she goes, when he leaves here, how's he going to know his shoulders are square? And I went, I don't know. And then she taught me, if you see him out of your peripheral vision, you can see both or none, a little too much left, too much right. And be perfectly honest with you. I mean, I kind of look at anybody who can break 100. Besides a poor grip, open shoulders is the kiss of death. And that's been like, since I've been, obviously doing this since that point, that's been one of the main things that I can, honestly say that, if you could get somebody to do that on their own, they actually improve between that and the grip, right? Helps the path, helps everything else. But the fact that she said, how are you going to know that when they leave? And then she helped me. She helped me do it. And I've used that. You talk about the teaching pieces, right? That simple little approach. I've used that ever since. Used it today. You see both shoulders, you see more right, you see more left. But I just loved it because she challenged me. She said, how are they going to know that when they leave here? And I never thought about that as an instructor up to that point. I'm like, well, I fixed them here, got their money. I fixed them. They're hitting it better. And they come back, say they're hitting it worse. And what's a lot of instructors' answers? Well, you were hitting it better the last time you were here. She taught me to look at myself and say, well, maybe you didn't do the complete job.
Right.
And, once again, just looking at that and, you talk about follow through and not follow through in golf, but following through on a task and, those life lessons, things I've taken that I still use in teaching that may to some people seem so basic. It's not even funny, but we all know now how important those fundamentals are. So anyway.
Can I
Awesome.
add one thing, Jason, real quick?
Yeah, sure.
I think the biggest takeaway teaching wise was how quickly she could say something. And I'm not going to lie, I think I took way too much time to explain what I was trying to tell a student first. And these 3-day schools, like I was hogging the room. Jason had to have the room.
Yeah.
Dana had to have the room, or whoever it was. Nancy.
Yeah, that was probably me.
So I had like 5 minutes, and the way Dana would do it, she would stand up and it would take 30 seconds. A student, it was so poignant and she got right to it. And I didn't have that. I had to explain it in my way, and it was tough because I had to break away from that and think about what's better for the student and every student that's coming through. How do you make it quicker? How do you make them understand faster? How do you create a visual? The way she came up with a drill like that, and you're going to do the towel drill. The broom. We're going to put the broom in front of you, and you're going to do that, and they've got it in 45 seconds versus. I'm still getting better at that. It's how do you get it down to the simplest you can make it for that student and do it in the least amount of words so that they leave here with 1 or 2 words and they're better and they can think about it on the golf course and they can go play and they can have a good time. It was a real art that I honestly didn't really know about before I got there. I thought it was the art and the science of, you got to get the club in the right places. You got to get the physics right. But at the end of the day, it was a human element. We're teaching human beings to play a game and have fun and to love one another, like she would say. I really think she loved us. And I could feel that. And the more I think about it back then, the time that she spent with each one of us individually was huge. And I think, boy, Jason, you've hit on this several times in your podcast, is having a mentor like that.
Yeah.
It's just incredible just to help us along and to spend time with us like that. And Julie, you've spent time with me, each one of you actually. It's been huge. So, yeah,
if you listen to the last 10 to 15 minutes of the podcast I did with her, it just sums everything up. Right. So, and that was her billboard answer was love one another. And that kind of just ties it all together. I've got so many notes. I don't want to, you guys can probably listen to a lot of the things that, from the podcast that I've learned from her. But I'll share a couple of things, and you guys have brought up a few of them. Things that I use today, right? Moving people properly, I think is a lost art. And, it allows us to not have to use our words, right? So you can start to get, now that we can actually put hands on people again, sort of post-COVID. Not all the way, but so it gives you another tool in your toolbox to like create change and create feel for players in a short amount of time. And I know me and Nancy, me and Molly, all of you, we've all helped each other get better at that. I know me and Nancy spent hours in the training room moving each other right around and talking about things. And
it was super cool when Dana would walk through and then she'd stay for a half hour. We just spent hours in that training room.
She had to be so proud to just watch us like sort of take off with, she gave me my start, as a struggling club pro and being a full-time teacher. And I still to this day don't know why, because I knew nothing. I thought I knew a lot, but I didn't know anything. But she gave me a chance and created a culture and an environment for me to grow. And then, all the stuff that we did as a group, the book clubs and the amount of books that we read outside of golf, I think was just massive. And starting to listen to audio tapes, and just the continuous learning gene was infectious. And I think that was, and what you do with that is up to us, right? It's like she said that to me before when we were talking last time I saw her. She's like, I'm always giving her the accolade. She's like, well, you did the work. I'm like, yeah, but it was, she just had that right touch of basically instilling in us that mindset, which I think was just fantastic. I'm doing so many like ladies clinics now at my club, and gosh, she's sitting on my shoulder telling me what to say. And I always give her accolades of like, hey, Mr. Rader told me, get the left arm on top of the girls. Just things like that you wouldn't know, right? That I still use today, and being able to manage 6 to 8 ladies at one time in an hour and not let anybody feel like they're getting left out is some of the things that I use to this day. But I just think the personal growth thing is the biggest thing. And going back to following Christ, I mean, she led me through that whole deal. I mean, that was probably the biggest decision I made, and for her to be there by my side, and Julie and all of you, was just unbelievable. And then the last piece was the public speaking, which when we first started, I was, as you say, everybody sucks at it, but it was just like, she sent me to Toastmasters, and I practiced. And a mentor always asks you what you want. And that was the first thing she did to me, is she said, what do you want? What do you want to do? And when I told her, and she's like, okay, those are really, really high goals. Being a top 100 or being respected by your peers, all these things I told her, she's like, okay, well, this is what you have to do. And you're gonna have to get a heck of a lot better speaking in front of groups. Like, I never thought I'd ever talk to so many groups and do workshops and the things that I've done over the years. I mean, that's all her encouraging me and walking alongside, and, creating those opportunities. And to watch her in front of a group, how commanding she was. And it was amazing. The one funny story that I remember is just doing, so many of those corporate clinics, right? Where they'd have 8, 10, 12 people in a group come out. And she was just so mesmerizing as she would walk the line. And I remember one time a guy was hitting balls, and he turned around and goes, what do you think? She goes, are you really going to hit it with that grip? Are you really going to play with that grip today? And he was like, what do you mean? So it was just stuff like that. I just, just little anecdotes of just like we call Dana-isms that I remember along the way. So if I talk anymore, I'm going to start crying. So.
All right. So I got a funny corporate story. So I'm sure some of you guys remember, she was on a kick drinking that Verb for a while. That's
What about that?
That's so much caffeine in it. And I think we can all agree Dana probably shouldn't have had any caffeine.
She's on 12 already.
Do a corporate clinic on green too. So it's chipping, and she downs a Verb and chipping, and there's like 10 people in the corporate clinic, and it was just Dana and I, and she's working the line. I'm by this guy, and the guy goes, hey, how do you make it go really high and stop on the green? She takes the guy's club, it's not even her club, she's we all know that she's, she was said just shy of 6 foot, so she's pretty tall. She opens that club face wide open. She squats down as low as she can. So I'm at this vision that she almost looks like a praying mantis now. Knees are way out, and our elbows are way out. She takes a full swing. This thing goes 30 feet in the air and slam dunks right into the hole. Dana likes to command the group. She just drops the club, and she kind of walks to the middle of in between green 1 and 2. And I'm still standing there. And the guy goes, does she do that a lot? Now there's 3 or 4 guys are now standing around me. Does she do that a lot? And I go, every damn time. So Dana goes, what did he say? And I said, hey, he said, do you do that a lot? And she goes, yeah, I've never done that before. That bird, that makes you brave.
Makes you brave.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
Well, you guys remember all her different, nutrition habits and changes as she
Yeah.
would go through the different kicks. And I remember we'd always go up to the gallery and I'd have to order her lunch and make sure there was no tomato on it, make sure there's no cheese on it. And I ate a lot of tomato and cheese sandwiches, I think. And she'd always say, cheese upset her stomach. And I was lucky enough to drive to Florida with her. I didn't realize how lucky I was to drive to Florida and back with her for LPGA stuff. And one time we stopped at a gas station and there was a Dairy Queen. I'd never seen a Dairy Queen before, being from New Hampshire. And she said, I'm going to gas up. You take this credit card and you get us some ice creams. And I thought, that's weird. She doesn't eat cheese because it hurts her stomach. So I'm like, oh, all right. So I go in and they do those big, huge ice cream cones, with the chocolate on them and everything. We get back in the car and I swear to you, she ate that thing before we'd even gotten back on the highway. And she got to the bottom of it and it was just like the cone and a little bit of the ice cream on top. And she looked at me, she goes, I don't eat dairy. What the heck, Molly? She chucks it out the window and she's like, why'd you let me eat that? I was like, I have no idea what just happened.
Oh my gosh. That's great. All right. Any other stories before we wrap up? I think we've.
No, I miss our ping pong though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, ping pong at the Christmas parties.
A lot of good Christmas parties.
Yeah.
One thing that we've all been talking about is these interviews, and one thing that Dana and I always wanted was people who were teachable. That was all that mattered. It didn't matter what you knew. It was, were you teachable and were you very engaged with the client? And that's all that mattered, because beyond that, everything else can be learned. But everybody, I think that almost everybody that we worked with loved and had a passion for teaching. And that came across in those interviews. It didn't matter what you knew or didn't know about teaching. It was about who you are as a character, as a person, how well you treated the client, and were you teachable? And all of you were all that. And that's why you're great teachers, because you all have that passion and that love, and you have pursued your interests. And I'll tell you, Dana's very proud of all of you, as I am. You've done such a great job with helping others, being a great group of people that was a treasure to work with. And I know she's very, very proud of everything you all have done.
You would always say, interview hard and manage easy.
That's
There
right.
you go.
Right?
There you
She
go.
said that all the time.
Right.
So
Yep.
makes sense. You interview, find the right character, the right personality, and you can manage easy. But I had one last thing that I thought influenced a little bit my teaching is some people like to specialize, right, in putting or in full swing or juniors or whatnot. And I do respect, and I probably model my coaching a little bit over Dana, has probably nicknamed her a chameleon. Yeah, she would teach a little bit of everybody. And we would always say, okay, let's just say Jason had a certain clientele and Doug and me, and Dana would teach a little bit of everybody, right? I wrote a couple notes. So she had Mr. Collin come with a crazy closed club face, strong grip. Every time he comes, she would teach Hugh McCall, CEO of Bank of America. She would teach Barbara Bolts, just try to break 100. She would teach high handicapper, low handicapper, CFO, CEO, and then junior golfers. Obviously, she was pretty, at one point she had most of the elite juniors at our academy, right? They would reach her, search for her, I guess, for her expertise in teaching. And sometimes just look for Dana because they just love her, right? So sometimes they just love her, sometimes they love her expertise in teaching. So she would change herself based on her clients as opposed to, teach a certain clientele. So I love her ability to adapt to every client that she had, their skills level or their personality. And I think that's a really cool trait.
Yeah, let's be honest. She did not like to teach putting.
Yeah.
Or did
So-
she like to teach short game?
She shows up.
Less short game. Yeah.
Yeah, she shows up.
She
we
would
just-
fake it a little bit, maybe.
yeah, we just did a workshop at Berkeley with Krista and a couple of I did a putting presentation, and Dana showed up a little bit later for her presentation. She didn't get to see mine, and she goes, "Hey, Mick," she called me Mick, which I still have no idea why she called me Mick, but that was my nickname. "What'd you do today, Mick?" I said, "Well, I did putting." She's like, "Oh, glad I missed that one."
Yeah.
I loved her putting theory. The ball is there, the hole is there, get it in the hole.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just like, she just
Yeah,
she
get it
said
all.
everybody. So yeah, it was funny. Well, I know she would be, super proud of, everybody here, and there's so many more thousands of people that she's touched over the years, through her work with the LPGA and just, all the presentations and the workshops that she's done. The legacy is massive, and I hope, this will always last, where we can always go back and listen to it and share it. And I just appreciate everybody, taking the time to do this. Any other parting words before we close? I don't know how else we can wrap this up any better than we already have, but you guys are awesome. I love all of you, and I appreciate it.
Jason, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for putting this together.
Thank you, Jason.
Absolutely.
Love you all. I miss
Thank
you
you,
all.
Jason.
All right. Y'all be good, and we'll talk soon.
Okay.
Take
All
care.
right.
Have a good night.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.